Welcome back to the exciting radio drama of Pinkie Pie and Twilight Sparkle. Part 4, or whatever part this turns out as. My friends, minus Pinkie, came in the morning to pick me up. I was bone-tired, completely drained, and sore from crying, but I still found the strength to get on my 3 functional feet and embrace each of them. They weren't stupid. They saw I wasn't happy, that my brain had given up the ghost, and their hugs lingered a little longer than necessary. Still, they respected my privacy and my promise to eventually tell them what was the matter. They dropped Spike and me off at the library with another round of well wishes, and urged me to get as much rest as I needed. As soon as they left the library, Spike appeared at my side. "Twilight?" he asked quietly. "Why were you crying last night?" "Pinkie came by. Said she was leaving town." I paused a bit, forcing down the tears. "She blames herself for the whole mess, citing some superstitious nonsense about bad luck." "She's leaving you just like that?" Spike was obviously confused. "It's not like we really established anything. She's leaving all the same." I grabbed my saddlebag off a nearby chair and floated it over to me. "That's why I'm going after her." "But you can barely walk." "I'm not going to physically chase after her. That only works in bad novels." I fumbled a bit with the straps of the saddlebags, and Spike wordlessly came over to help me. "But I am going to track her down. I'd like it if you came along, but I'm afraid I can't support your weight in this condition. You'll have to walk." "That's fine. Where are we going?" "Sugar Cube Corner." Ponyville's bakery was just at the edge of what I felt comfortable walking on 3 legs without rest. My good legs were sore from favoring the bad ankle, but Spike and I had got there in one piece. There was nobody behind the counter when we came in. I glanced up and saw that Pinkie's peephole was still there, but no light came through it. The scent of pastry wafted from the back. "Coming!" said a pair of voices in unison. A few moments later, Mr. and Mrs. Cake appeared at the counter. "Hi there," said Mr. Cake. "Is there anything we can—" "Oh, it's you." "Oh, it's you." The Cakes fixed me with a bitter gaze, and I silently cursed myself for not seeing this one coming. Still, I couldn't back out. Is Pinkie still—" "The poor mare packed everything and left this morning," Mrs. Cake said, her voice like poisoned sugar. That's interesting. "After crying in her room for 8 hours, crying and calling out your name." Mr. Cake came out from around the counter to more properly tower over with me. Unlike his wife, he made no attempt to disguise the anger in his voice. "That filly's had a torture you since you came into town. What, do you think going on 1 date before shooting her down would be letting her down easy?" "It wasn't like that. Maybe you just wanted to humor her once before telling her you're not that kind of mare." Miss Cake shook her head and walked into the bakery proper. "You're not welcome in the bakery anymore," Mr. Cake growled. The effect should have been comical coming from him, but it wasn't. "And we're not telling you where Pinkie is just so you can break her heart again." With that, he turned and followed Mrs. Cake. Silently, Spike supported my injured side, and we limped into the street. "It's okay, Twilight," Spike said after a heavy moment. "They don't know the whole story." "I know. Still, there's a part of me that wants to say they're right. That I broke her heart. I don't know a lot about this kind of stuff, but—" Spike paused, looking at the sparse crowd of ponies going about their business. "I think she broke her own heart." I chuckled and ruffled Spike's spikes. "You know a lot more about this than you let on. Come, let's go back to the lab. I've got some things I'd like to try." 3 days later. I made sure Spike was well fed before I started Experiment 12, as the experiment involved a variety of crystal amplifiers scattered about my laboratory, and my assistant was not known for his appetite control. It was an apt precaution. Wait, did Scratch just moonwalk off the screen? Come back. Anyway, "Twilight," he said, munching on the last of his smoke quartz. "You have to tell them sometime. We barely left the lab since your accident." "I'm convalescing. We can keep using that as an excuse for a while." I had gotten much more used to getting around on 3 legs, navigating without depth perception, barely noticing the slowdown as I hobbled around the lab to set the crystal foci. But you don't need to keep them in the dark about this. They trusted me enough not to ask questions. That means it's my responsibility to bring her back. Oh boy, where's this going? Spike just shook his head and went to put his bowl in the kitchen. By the time he came back, I was ready to begin the experiment. I pulled my magic into my horn, accumulating as much as I could within the bounds of safety. When I felt full, I carefully let it drain into the crystal in the center of the room. The magic, purple and diffuse, spread out from the middle crystal and accumulated in the outer ones. It distorted the air, filling it with incandescent motes. With a soft whoomph, a wave of violet light spread out from the library and into Ponyville, rippling like a stone thrown in the pond of reality. I hobbled up to the observation deck of the library. I could see the purple wave racing away from Ponyville in all directions, clinging close to the lay of the land as it encountered the surrounding hillsides. Ponies in the streets looked about in confusion as the wave passed through them. Eventually, the citizens of Ponyville went back about their business, but I continued to keep watch, stumping in a circle around my telescope on the high platform. I briefly considered training the telescope on the horizon, but I couldn't spare the peripheral vision. After a while, Spike joined me. I got everything cleaned up, Twilight. You didn't have to do that, Spike. I could have gotten it. You have enough to do. He hopped on one of the railings. Did it work? I sighed. Too soon to tell. How will we know? You know that wave that came out of the spell? There should be another one of those coming back from where Pinky is now. I don't know how long it'll take. Well, I'll wait with you as long as it takes. He seemed a little less certain about the second part, given his usual attention span, but I smiled and patted his arm. We watched another hour, Spike taking the southeast half of the horizon and me taking the northwest. He didn't say much, but his draconic eyes were better suited for the bright background of the sunward side. We didn't say anything. At this point in our working relationship, we didn't need to. I knew all his secrets, and he knew mine. Eventually something approached the library, but it wasn't the blast of magic I was expecting. Rather, it was Rarity and Applejack with Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy hovering above them. They stopped at the base of the library and looked up at Spike and I. "Sugar Cube," Applejack shouted. "We need to talk." My voice felt strange after the silence. "What do you want to talk about?" "We've given you time..." Wait, this is Rarity, okay. "We've given you time to tell us what transpired between you and Pinkie Pie, but that, whatever it was you just did, has us all wondering." Rarity's voice carried just as far as Applejack's, but somehow she sounded as if she were still an inside voice. "Told you so," Spike whispered. "Can it wait?" I replied. "I'm waiting for something." The four of them entered in a huddle and conspired about something. Eventually, Fluttershy approached me from the ground and landed gently on the platform. Applejack told me..." She glanced down at the orange earth pony, who nodded. "She told me if you didn't cooperate, I should come up and get you. And if you struggled, Rarity said I should ask Rainbow Dash for help. So it's probably better if you just listen to her." I suppose if Rarity and Applejack are agreeing on something, the forces are completely out of my control. I glanced at Spike. "Could you all let them in and get some tea started? I'll be down in a minute." Spike nodded and led Fluttershy down the stairs into the library proper. I took one last futile glance around, no longer quite sure what I was looking for, before following along.